Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Prince Mumbai Delhi Express podcast. And today we're going to talk about the monsoon. Which city is better prepared for the rains? I'm Anjali Thomas, the deputy editor of Ground Reports, and with me is my colleague and senior correspondent Tina Das. So now, before we start pointing fingers at Mumbai, let's get one thing out of the way. On an average, we get Mumbai gets 2,300 millimeters of rain annually, sometimes more. And Delhi, on the other hand, gets around 790 millimeters of rain every year. So now let's talk about how the cities cope with the monsoon. Tina, do you want to start?
This year, however, let's start with this year because Delhi's been experiencing above normal amount of rainfall. I am
2000
reading,
mm of rain?
not really, of course,
Yes.
but I'm reading this piece which basically says Delhi has received 15% above normal rainfall since 1st of June. And this comes right after the extremely scorching heat that we experienced in both the cities, of course. But Delhi, like we know, is
Oh,
particularly
yes.
a tandoori tawa where 49 degrees was just regular for like a whole month at least. But coming back, I think Delhi is very underprepared for rain because primary reason is simply the fact that, like you already pointed out, that we don't receive a lot of rain. In the last 10 years, if I check data, it has averaged around, like, it'll be 1 year, 1 day or 2 days, suddenly it'll like cross the 46 years record, or it'll be cross the 10 years record. But by default, this is not a city that receives a lot of rainfall, and it's not like we care.
But which is why I was so surprised. I mean, Delhi is the capital of the country. So, I see Kia, beautiful roads. You have lovely roads, beautiful roads, suddenly flooded. Cars are floating. And I'm looking out, it's not even raining that heavily. So, the new Parliament building, I think, got flooded. So, it's not even rain.
To be fair, we forgot this one crucial thing in Delhi's infrastructure, which is drains. So, there are no drains, there are no proper drains, and that's literally the first reason why these very beautiful roads, Green Park, there are
Oh,
multiple
yeah.
videos, viral reels where this extremely expensive locality, if you go by real estate,
Yes.
cars were legit floating. And then you have the other expensive location, which is Gurgaon, like which is the next stop after Delhi, that has cars floating, and now people are obviously making memes about hiring boats, Uber boats instead of Uber cars. But yeah, but I would say Bombay is also equally at a horrific
Yes,
space.
I think so too. I think that, given that a city like Bombay gets heavy rain, our authorities should have been better prepared. They should have figured it out by now. And every year before the rains, in the run up to the monsoon, we are inundated with newspaper stories. Everyone's talking about how prepared the BMC, which is the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, is. And you'll have headlines like dewatering pumps have been installed, road work is being completed. And most Mumbaikars know that nothing works. I mean, I remember once when the metro came up, because it was up and running, I saw a video, I do not know if it's true, of people holding an umbrella in the metro cabin, because there was a leak. So, I mean, I don't know whether that was true, but we know, as Mumbaikars, I think we anticipate the rains with conflicting emotions of relief and torment. Now, relief, because the threat of water cuts, depleting water reservoir, lake water levels, that's gone. And the torment, because we know that that everything else will go for a toss. Open drains, if there's floods, you're going to fall into something. Trains are going to stop, and you're going to walk through rat-infested, garbage-ridden tracks just to get home, because Bombay is a city of long commutes.
The other problem that Delhi especially has, I think, is the flooding of Yamuna. And like today is when already Yamuna has risen to 204.19 meters, which is like 0.31 below the danger mark. And even though the flood control minister is like the preparations are in place, I think we all have stopped believing in that lie.
I think same here.
Like there is nothing in place in terms of preparations, because I live close to civil lines area, which last year I remember in 2021, so 2021 is one of those years where Delhi received 1100 millimeters of rain, which is like half of course Bombay
But
still,
still
but
much
still
higher.
much higher, because it's usually 500 to 600 for Delhi, and then you have 400 millimeters extra, so you can imagine. And I had this visuals of people had literally, makeshift rafts. Because there was a lot of these people who were living, because that's also the Yamuna floodplains, like part of the Yamuna floodplains is that side. So that had risen. So it is very old, Delhi Secretariat and all buildings, which are like all heritage buildings. But you also have like a same concentration of, slum areas around that area. So you can imagine, like, that is literally, it was an equalizer at that point because everybody was floating. You couldn't figure out it was a concrete road.
That's
It was a
like
river.
that's like in 2005. I think a lot of Mumbaikars discovered for the first time that Bombay has a river too. It's called the Mithi. We just thought it was a very big drain, and the Mithi got flooded, and that was one of the worst flooding events that the city has experienced. And also because it, except for maybe South Bombay, everything, including like Bandra, all it was just flooded. People had abandoned their cars in the middle of highways, flyovers, and walked home. So the next day, because we're journalists and we're going reporting, and we just see roads and roads of very expensive cars just lying there. We've not experienced anything like that to that extent because a lot of people started taking up work to cancel that. We not experience anything like that again. But I still feel that the authorities in whichever city needs to do better for its citizens. But you know what? But the magic of monsoon is what I miss in Delhi.
I agree because I'm from Assam and I mean, yeah, we do have floods and it does get really bad around there. But considering monsoon is one of the most primary and long seasons in Assam, so it has its own, I don't know whether to call it perks, but it has its moments, its beautiful moments.
But what is amazing and what is still holds true for Bombay is that it might bring out the worst of our infrastructure, but the rains bring out the best in our people because I think there's a shared sense of tragedy and everyone's caught in the same boat. Strangers will open their doors to you. People will, if you're stuck, if you're walking in floods, random strangers will come and give you cups of tea or, glucose biscuits. And that's just a feeling that, of belonging. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're a man, a woman, what your caste is, what class you are from. There is that shared feeling of empathy, which I do not know whether I see that in Delhi.
I don't think Delhi has any crisis. To be fair, I know we call it Dilwalo Ke Delhi, and I would say in a lot of moments it's there. But like I said, and we have spoken about the fact that Delhi has not really experienced a certain kind of rain. So I think every time it reaches, for example, in 2021, like I said, 1100 millimeters, which was the highest in 46 years. Now you can imagine 46 years. So you literally have no immediate reference point for certain kind of situation. For example, you would know, okay, you can't take a smaller car out and, it'll get drowned. So you'll use something else in terms of commute. But I don't know how much of like immediate stories, because these stories, like you pointed out, also come out when it's a more regular feature, I would say. Like since Bombay has a regular monsoon
Yeah.
season. So there are more tendencies of people to also align themselves with it. I don't think Delhi has it. And since it has been very infrequent, like you have this 1 year which is really insane in terms of rainfall, I don't think Delhi people in any way know how to cope, not just infrastructurally, but in terms of like socially or as people with the rain or people against the rain.
Yeah, there is a magic to the monsoon in Bombay, and I'm assuming the same with any other city that receives a lot of rain. And I think I'm going to quote Alexander Frater with his Chasing the Monsoon. It's one of my favorite books because he travels from the south right up to Cherrapunji chasing the monsoon. And he describes it, the wind drops, it gets dark, there's terrific thunder and lightning, and then the deluge. And the first rain, everyone is just celebrating. We are on the roads, we are on the beach looking at the waters, children are like playing. And it's that, and then, the usual smell of monsoon. Yes, there's also rain and all that crap, but you've got the smell of roasting bhutta, you've got like, petrichor, you've got all these smells that are so essential to, the magic of a monsoon in the city, and I really really miss that. Yes, having said that, Delhi has a lovely winter, so one can't complain.
To be fair, if not outside, people do put up petri messages immediately, statuses, sorry, immediately on social media the moment the first rain hits, because that used to be a thing because we used to not receive rain. So literally the first rain, everybody's ready with their statuses. Then it gets progressively worse because now after a point you don't know, oh my god, it is now getting too much out of hands. So I think we have our chai, we have our pakora, and I think our food delivery apps are proactive the moment it starts raining, because even before the rain has hit the
Oh.
ground, the food delivery apps will be like, order chai, order pakora. So
But do they deliver?
they do deliver.
That's good.
But yeah, so you have the chaat culture and the street food culture, which you can listen to, by the way. We have already talked about the Delhi, Bombay street food, so you can listen to it. And so we have our street food. So this is the time when all of your taste buds for fried things are out.
Oh, yes. You know what I used to hate? So, as a reporter, when I was young, and I'd be like reporting in Bombay and in the floods, everyone else would be sitting at home and putting up little photos of this was even before Instagram, but on Facebook. And now, of course, on Instagram, of like hot steaming cups of adrak chai or cutting chai and pakoras and cheese toast. And you're wading through dirt, hoping you don't get leptospirosis, and you're just hating everybody, and you're like, what is this monsoon magic that people keep talking about? The city is garbage. But the moment I was at home when it rained and I was not out, immediately photo of the chai and the pakoras and the cheese toast, and you're like, wow, Bombay is beautiful in the rains.
I think bringing this brings us to this basic idea, right? Like it depends on the infrastructure. It again comes back to privilege. I think monsoon is just basically in cities, I would say that in places that literally has no infrastructure, it is a matter of privilege. It's like you pointed out, if you're on the roads bang in the middle of rain, you
Oh,
hate
yeah.
everybody, the world, yourself, your job, like I said, everything. But if you're back, you change into dry clothes and you have access to your kitchen and great food, I think the world comes back to normal. So I think that is literally it that happens.
But both cities, I think, don't come. Do they come to a standstill? Like I've lived in some cities. I don't want to name call or shame any city, but I've been in some cities where it's almost as if somebody's just taken a bucket of water and poured it from their balcony, and everything stops. Autos will not take you. Deliver Swiggy and Zomato will be like, it's raining, we can't take you, or everything's overpriced. Does that happen in Delhi?
I think the overpricing, of course, happens. The
Same in
auto
Bombay,
walas
to an
saying
extent.
Ubers would happen. But one thing I absolutely love, I think, about Bombay is that I just had a recent working assignment there, is that the patience that people have on the commute, on taxi, taxis, Ubers, and even auto walas. Like you could be stuck, but it is very like zen. And I have once asked an auto wala, ki, how do I maintain this kind of zen in my life? Because I was panicking over an interview that I was getting late for. The other thing I think is
What
the
did he
fashion.
say?
He just smiled. I think he was just not expecting it. But I think the other thing that I want to point out, considering I'm a person who will think about fashion all the time, I think Bombay is very well prepared when it comes to like rain fashion.
Oh yes, rain fashion.
It's like, rows and rows of shops in Lincoln Road and Bandra. You'll have like, Crocs and gumboots and these massive umbrellas.
Oh, I have one. These big, massive umbrellas that I'm too self-conscious to take out in Delhi. And you could possibly like attack somebody with it, or I love those. You can use them as a walking stick and a raincoat.
Yeah. So I think Delhi still needs to, because I have seen people never carrying umbrellas for some reason, even in rainy season. I think like I said, we are very underprepared on a personal level as well, and fashion sense as well, very clearly, along with the infrastructure level. So I think both the cities really need to
Get
step
there.
up their game. I think Bombay, unfortunately, I have to concede this time, is slightly ahead of Delhi, but I'm sure we'll reach there soon.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening in. And if you have any suggestions for what we should argue about, please let us know. Bye.